Will you ever pick up a book again?
Absolutely. I do both, text and video, and it's pretty clear. Text is a lot faster than video. Would you rather scan 100 email messages or 100 voicemail messages or 100 video messages?
Yeah, one of these things about time-based media, they're really hard to integrate with daily life, except for radio, because we can multitask with radio. Radio broadcasting is 100 years old this year, and it won't die, no matter how they try to kill it, you know? And I think, and you know, the Kindle, what is the Kindle? It looks like a book. It's an electronic simulation of a book. I think books, you know, they may become the kinds of fetish objects, but they'll be around.
Well, of course, there's the people who are thinking about the future of the book see embedding other media within text, which we don't really know what that's for until we can do it.
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty clear from doing a lot of video that being able to have a clickable URL or clickable objects that can lead you to other web objects in a video is pretty important. Otherwise, you got to kind of kludge it. I mean, I think Skype works well because you can talk to someone and say, "Have you seen that website? Here, I'll paste the URL into the chat."
Yeah, I think videos will be easier to touch. You know, the internal molecules of the video will be a lot easier to work with over time. I don't think they're not going to be as slippery and untouchable as they are now. But my question is, you know, there's this picture that's coming out sort of today from everybody's little interventions of video sort of jumping ahead and marginalizing other kinds of media, communications media. And I just don't know. I think video will be an ever powerful sort of presence in it, but in some ways it'll still remain an adjunct, an assistant. I don't know what's going to be central. You know, what channel will be the centrality of our lives.
That's a question I've been thinking about a lot. I think for me, it's the big question that I'm pursuing right now, which are literacies of the 21st century.
Yes.
The great thing about print literacy is it takes some years to learn. We forget that. There's that great recent book, Proust and the Squid, about how learning to read rewires your brain. We have biologically evolved mechanisms for visual pattern recognition, for abstracting symbols, for sequencing things linearly, but those are not biologically coordinated.
It's the ontogeny, phylogeny.
They are culturally coordinated.
Yes.
We're not born able to read. We need to learn to take these different brain functions that are inherent for other reasons and tightly coordinate them to be able to recognize letters, string the letters together into words, decode the words, and then ultimately do that unconsciously. It's compiled. It takes years and years to do it. The great advantage of that literacy is that everybody who is literate is in on it.
Yes.
Now, there are a whole lot of teenagers who are very, very video literate. I'm seeing students who really don't know what RSS is. So there's social media literacy, there's participatory media literacy, video literacy. It's unlike the print literacy era. It's multiple and I think fragmenting.
There's more players in the ecology, but one can also argue that there's going to be, you know, if the Darwinian principles still operate, plus, you know, what's injected from the social spheres that we live in, whether it's economic scarcity, whether it's a security state, whether it's, you know, the Antil society and so on, that, you know, we'll have to see which ones of those literacies tend to move into the foreground. But I think text will just be a basic. In order to be entitled, you will have to still have textual literacy.
Although the issue that Nick Carr is raising with "Is Google Making Us Stupid?" which
Yeah.
is a great provocative title, but
Yeah.
I think really misframes the question. Is that we're digesting text in smaller chunks, and we're emitting it in smaller chunks, and that's why I think Twitter is kind of a perfect match for the zeitgeist these days, because the 140 characters
Yes.
kind of matches our ambient grazing attention level. Reading a book, for me, I need to take a long airplane flight to read
Yeah.
a book at length. It's not part of my daily life the way it was when I was a kid, when I only had television or reading. But now it's making videos and participating online and searching and twittering and
I mean, Twitter is like a collective game. We agree to obey certain rules and then let the framework of the game elaborate. And it's really only beginning to elaborate itself, just as Facebook went through a whole bunch of iterations as it broadened and broadened and broadened and became a kind of a near universal platform for certain groups of people. We're seeing that with Twitter. But I'm interested in what you said about reading, because, reading is like apple pie and motherhood and puppies and balloons and everything. It's treated as a major... It's highly valued culturally in many circles, especially traditional circles, and yet the idea of reading is kind of frozen and reified into certain domains. There's this implicit bias when people say kids don't read anymore, we're going to lose a generation. Public literacy is down. There's this notion that reading is, a direct, almost cult-like relationship between a person and a book, in private, quiet, sequential, serial over a long period of time from page one to the end.
Yeah.
And what we've discovered in our library is that reading is very different. Reading can be dipping into a million books. Reading can be finding text for repurposing. Reading can be, it could be Googling around, looking for bits and pieces that either hopefully don't just support your biases, but also problematize your biases. But the reading can be a very plural, multivalent experience. We don't even really know what reading could be. And our notion of reading has got to evolve away from this, sort of 19th century around the hearth. At the same time, we could do a lot more reading aloud. I mean, the poetry slam people, words as performance was really an attempt to bring a very old paradigm, put a modern skin around it. So I think we've only just begun to understand what reading is about. And as a result, I think that this whole thing about the death of the book is very much the material of people who make money by coming up with provocative theses for their freelance pieces. It's going to take, even if it happens, it will be a slow process.
Well, certainly the book is transforming.
Yes.
It's transforming on the attentional level. It's transforming on the media level. A book that you can't search is different from. The interesting thing about the Twitter stream and other online text-based media is that you can concatenate a whole lot of things together through hashtags, through search. There's the David Weinberger argument. Humans organize things in categories and hierarchies because we didn't have search. So are books the way they are because they weren't searchable? Maybe books will be in a different form if they're
and yet
searchable.
Search was anticipated from the beginning, with biblical concordances, with the Talmud, the self-referential, hypertextual. It wasn't as if people didn't see that as a need.